Now, time for another expert, this time on the critical subject of competitiveness for hotels in these changing times. And for this, we're lucky to be joined by the stupendously well-informed co-founder and CEO of Avio. Please welcome Frank Reeves.
Thank you very much, Peter, and good morning, everybody. Stupendously well-informed. Let's see. So after almost 20 years in this industry and all the grey hair to show for it, I still don't have crystal balls. However, let's engage in some joint speculative forecasting as to where things are going, particularly with a focus online. My aim, really, over the next 30 minutes or so is to pick up on one of Adam's points earlier, is to really try and give you all some new thinking, to deliver a veritable ice age, to kill off some old thinking, at least one piece of old thinking, and to therefore make you more informed and give you some element of competitive advantage. So as I said, almost 20 years in the industry, what I wanted to shake up first is our historic legacy thinking about the customer journey, in particular online. So online travel, for those of you who are not facing this in your kind of day-to-day, online travel is probably the most dynamic and fast-paced of the online ecosystems. Right? Booking.com, you may well know, are still Google's single biggest advertiser, and more changes in travel online than I think any other industry. It's so competitive, and we're all aware of the major OTA brands and all of the players there. And when I started, when Avio started almost 20 years ago now, we were looking at the hotel website and we were considering hits. Right? How many hits have I had to my website, or has this hotel had to their website? And that wasn't really accurate, so we were thinking, well, every time an image loads, that's kind of a hit, so that doesn't really give us the information. So let's talk about clicks. How many clicks do our websites have? And then we were looking at the click-to-book rate and things like that. And then we came on to more kind of customer focused metrics. And let's see if my slides work here. Then Google told us that really we're thinking about things in an old-fashioned way. There's no longer really the case for a traditional marketing funnel where somebody comes to your website and then completes that sort of end goal in that session. So we went on as an industry and appropriated a term that's very dear to my heart, being an Irishman, of sessions. So how do we measure how much time people are spending on our website? And of course, we look at a session as maybe 8 hours or 12 hours. How do we think about the number of events and actions that people take over the course of a session? And we've moved on from sessions to what Google now and we in Avio talk about as moments, or moments of attention. You could probably more accurately think of them as. So this is a typical guest journey in travel. So we may well start as a guest, as a consumer of travel, we may well start on Google, searching for hotels. We may connect straight from Google to a hotel or via an intermediary. And we're on one device, and then a little bit later we're on a different device. But this is, I think, quite broadly accurate in terms of the typical customer journey, the guest journey in travel. So from search to intermediary to hotel to back, over and back, spanning time and across devices. So what Google are telling us is that, well, these are really moments, right? It's not sessions. A lot happens in 8 hours. So if a session is an 8-hour block or a 12-hour block, potentially all this happens within one session. So how do we as an industry really understand what's going on there? What are the moments of attention that are driving this? So another stat from Google, looking at this sort of online typical user, Amy, who had 419 digital moments or moments of attention on her travel journey, right? A lot on mobile, a lot with intermediaries over the course of planning an entire trip, okay? So the old way of thinking about, clicks and hits and sessions has really moved on to moments now, or moments of attention. This may represent a number of moments of attention. This is the user journey through one of our hotel websites. This would be an Irish hotel, the Irish user, domestic user in their journey. So multiple moments, multiple sessions. This time they're on these pages and they go away and they come back and they're doing something completely different. So it's a complex space. My my clicker working? And of course, we have digital strategies now to try and target and really create engaging relevance throughout all of these different type of digital moments. So when people are researching and thinking more aspirationally about their travel, all the way through that funnel of transactional booking intent, digital strategy is really trying to target with some relevant information at every step, more in line with these moments that represent our digital adoption. So really what we are is we're vying for attention, right? And this term has sprung up in retail online. This is really attention economics. Right? We're not even fighting for a visit to our website. We're fighting for that critical moment of attention. And we're competing in travel with more competition, I think, in a more advanced and a dynamic comp set in travel than most other industries. So really this is the battle for attention and attention economics. I don't know whether you'll be able to see this, but this was my browser on Tuesday when I was building this presentation. I don't think I'm unique. Maybe this is a little bit extreme, but I think 31 browser tabs opened. I'm sure we all use multiple browser.
Clean them up before.
I did, didn't I? Yeah. I thought it was going to be on stage. I'll close the other ones. But no, so this was really my browser. This is 31 browser tabs. So I'm all over the place. I'm totally all over the place, attention-wise. I don't know how many times we get or we chase somebody that was meant to email us, and the response is, God, I was sure I sent that email. I know I wrote it, I just didn't send it. I'm totally guilty of that as well. The future generation, we've just been talking about Gen Z and millennials. I mean, to think that their attention span is going to be any better than ours is, I think, wishful thinking in the extreme. So let's have our first quick poll. We'll do this via show of hands, if you'll indulge me. How many moments of attention are required with our website brand in order to deliver a booking, to deliver a direct booking? So anyone who thinks that a single moment, the first time we see someone, that's when we get the booking? Anyone for one moment? 2? Put up your hand as I go through them. 3, 4, some hands coming up. 5 moments. 6, 7, 8, more than 8? More than 8, okay? Actually, you're right, but also I'm going to say 8 because we're tracking single device here. So when we look at millions of bookings that are going through our platform on behalf of the hotel website, if we just look at the same device from the first moment all the way through, we're seeing at least 8 moments. So this is to our London 4-star hotel customers to deliver guest bookings from their domestic market. So that's not to say that someone in North America who knows even less about London and your location vis-a-vis and relative to everything else, in those cases you may see more engagements, more moments of interaction with your hotel brand. So that hopefully is the first of a few insights. It's going to get you thinking about how you should understand the customer journey on your website. Same market, 4-star London, same audience, domestic bookers to 4-star London, those moments spans over 70 hours. Okay? So it's not the case. I think without even seeing the data behind any of your hotel websites, I could pretty much guarantee that all of your bookings on your direct site are not coming from people who've just hit your direct site for the first time. Right? These people have been engaging and interacting and understanding your brand over the course of, in this case, 70 hours. So booking intent during that first moment is very low. Right? People are somewhere on that customer journey in travel that Google told us about. They're somewhere on that journey, but we see booking intent for that first moment being very low. There are some exceptions here. We're in Black Friday, so that tends to spike intent, transactional intent a little bit. But as a general rule, all of your bookings are coming from those returning moments, right? Okay. So another one that I want to challenge a little bit, we've just heard a great presentation about mobile and mobile charging, and we've been talking about mobile first for quite a while. But I want to kind of challenge mobile first as a broad strategy for online and share with you some data. So another poll, what device do guests use to book on your website? So hands up, this is going to be simpler. Hands up who think that mobile is the preferred booking device. Okay, that's good. Maybe half the room. Desktop or / laptop booking device. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Smartphone or smartwatch, I should say. Anything? Nothing else? Okay, so this is sort of a trick question in that it depends on who we're talking about. This is some data for the Dublin 4-star hotel market. Looking at the booking device. So what we see here is massive change in device type based on the market, right? So for those of you who can't really see that, the Irish market, the domestic market to these Dublin 4-star hotels are using their mobile as their preferred booking device, more so than anything else. But that is not to say that that's what the American long-haul market is doing. So we have to challenge this thinking around mobile first as well. Who are we, which market are we talking about? Okay? But as a general rule, your domestic market will favor mobile as a booking device probably twice as much as an international market. So it's something else to keep in mind as a booking device. Okay, mobile will absolutely have probably made up one of their moments in that journey, but as a booking device, a general assumption is that your domestic market is using that at least twice as much as your international market. And this, just for those who are interested, this is a look at that same Irish travel customer looking at Irish hotels. So June 2018 was when mobile became the device of choice for booking in the domestic market. And it's not going back, I don't think, anytime soon. US bookers, there isn't a huge amount of change here. And when we think about it ourselves, I mean, if I'm planning a trip to Australia, I'm likely to have many more moments, there's a lot more to figure out, but I'm less likely to be making big, complex purchase decisions like the hotel that I want to stay in on a mobile device. And I think that's borne out in a sort of straightforward, easy to understand way. So we're seeing a growth in mobile as a booking device for the US market into Ireland. I think it would be the same in the UK. But really what's at play here is that the context drives the device of choice. So while we're waiting for the bus and we're doing a little piece of further research on whatever it is, that Amazon purchase or that trip we're going to take, then of course we're spending time on a mobile device and we're doing something there. But as we get into booking more complex things or diving into more complex interactions online, we tend to favor. So the context really drives our choice of device. I don't have an active clock here, so I'll keep an eye on this. So next I want to talk about online travel agents. Okay, this is really what's been making this industry so complex and continues to make this industry so complex. And I want to give us some food for thought around a new paradigm with OTAs as well. So Google, as many of you may be aware, probably within the last 6 months, have stepped very purposefully into travel. Right? So many people are talking about Google as the new OTA, for example. And while Google would say they're not an OTA and they don't contract hotels, you can book on Google directly within that ecosystem without ever leaving Google. And they have probably more impressive travel tools than any OTA. Right? So Google know more about us than any other brand in the world, certainly in Europe and North America. So they have over the millions of bookings that have come through our platform. Gmail is the biggest email domain. And as soon as a booking is made, even on a hotel website, Google of course have that whole itinerary and they'll create a calendar appointment. So they have visibility over so much of our lives, Google phones, Google browsers, calendars, but the whole itinerary. So what they've been able to do is turn that into very valuable travel applications. And because they're looking across all of the different sites, so they can pull in data from Booking.com and show you the price of this hotel on Expedia and Booking.com. Therefore, they can provide something that Booking.com can't, which is that price comparison. So, but as I said, Google have been building here for a while, but they've really stepped in with their 2 feet in the last 6 months. And this is creating what the industry is calling the Google squeeze. I think it was last week that the Q3 earnings call took place for Expedia and TripAdvisor, and there was a record drop in profitability and share price. And both of those CEOs have said Google squeezing us. So where it's costing us more to do business, if you're Expedia, because of how Google is taking that customer and keeping that customer within a Google ecosystem. So it's becoming more expensive for those OTAs to try and pull, I guess, those travel consumers out of Google. And the more Google do, the more tight, I guess, that sort of user experience will be for Google. So the OTA response to this, a little bit like Amazon, I guess. The OTA response to this is to try and prevent the consumer, the guest, the customer, from being in Google at all. Right? There are more product searches on Amazon than there are on Google. You don't typically go to Google and then end up in Amazon. You just start on Amazon. Right? At least I do. I think a lot of people do. And that's where the OTAs need to get to in order to stay competitive, because the more Google squeeze and evolve, the more OTA lunch that's going to eat, really. So this is at ITB in Singapore about a month ago. This is Booking.com saying, we want the end-to-end customer journey. We want to be an entire ecosystem for the customer, and Expedia will do the very same. So that OTA space is really changing. They're no longer confident that they can be, I guess, understood as booking platforms. They now need to morph and very quickly need to evolve into hospitality platforms, travel platforms that want to be with the guest every step of the journey, from pre-booking to booking to in-stay to post-booking to putting you in the taxi, sending you home. So let's have another poll. With this in mind, what are we thinking about OTAs from here? Nobody has a crystal ball, but do we think generally OTAs will continue to dominate and will grow and thrive? Or do we think we're seeing something that may be more of a sort of a challenge or a stall? Do a simple show of hands again. So OTAs will thrive and grow from here. I'm not saying they'll die, by the way, I'm not postulating that. OTAs may stall or may come under more challenges. Yeah. Okay, so maybe the room's split here as well. And who knows, but all of the headlines at the moment are about the Google squeeze. I believe that Google will warm more to the hotelier audience as they try and really compete with the OTAs. I think if your technology, if your website, if you're bookable, if your rates are streaming straight to Google, I think Google over time will favor that relationship because it's really competing with the OTA relationship in the same way that Google would consider itself competing with Amazon. Right? So that's my 2 cents on it, but we'll see. We'll see. So, artificial intelligence. I still okay on time, Peter?
Yes.
A little bit.
Got,
11 minutes, okay. So, artificial intelligence. I'm going to show you a series of 6 photographs, and I would like you, after you've seen all 6, to tell me which of these people are real and which of these people are fictitious, made up by an AI program. Okay? So, photograph number 1. You'll see all these again at the end. Number 2. Number 3. Oh. 4. 5. And 6. Okay. So, everybody back here. Hands up who thinks number 1 is not a real person, but is made up by an AI. Okay, so some. Hands up who thinks number 2, excuse me, I clicked on there. Who thinks number 2? Okay, not warming to the glasses. Number 3, number 3's got to be real. Number 3 is not real, okay, Niels. Number 4, yeah, everybody, yeah, a lot more people think number 4. Number 5, okay, yeah, and number 6. Okay, very good. So none of them are real. Wow. None of them are real. These people are all, I'm not going to tell you what the website is because you'll all fire up your phones and not listen to me anymore because we're all distractible slaves. None of these people are real. There's a tool out there where you type in, white guy or Asian girl wearing glasses, in a field, middle-aged with a blue shirt, and you'll get a photo. So this is just an artificial intelligence program that has scanned all of the millions of images online as composites and then will create a made-up identity based on your own inputs. So yeah, artificial intelligence. So Google were talking a lot about mobile first, for example, and then they pivoted really in 2018 to say, look, AI, if you're not really thinking actively about how, in the many ways that AI could potentially help your business, but AI is coming, and AI is very important. It's hard to talk about AI sometimes because it's such a broad space and it's very buzzy, and everyone has AI. I have AI shoes on. I mean, it's all very buzzy. But I think part of that is because it's such a broad field of computer science that covers everything from self-driving cars to robotics to machine learning to recommender engines and digital assistants. So it's a huge space. And it really does, in many cases, cover everything. We'll talk a little bit more about recommender engines in a few moments. But AI broadly is just this really, really big space of computing science. This is an old graphic, but still I think quite relevant. This looks at the AI investment or penetration within multiple markets, right? So we have healthcare. We'll all have personalized healthcare. Maybe we'll have personalized education, certainly advertising and marketing, automotive, self-driving cars, IoT, etc., etc. This was travel tech at the end of Q1 2017. So a relatively light investment within the travel technology sector for artificial intelligence. And I think you could pretty much count on it that the only people that were really investing here were the OTAs and were the Googles of this world, were the companies that were doing travel tech at scale, maybe some PMS companies, maybe early on revenue management companies. But nonetheless, I think this is still a very underdeveloped opportunity within this industry. Time for our next poll. Right, where do you come out with this AI debate? Are we snookered? Or do you see the upside? Do you see the automotive cars and healthcare and everything else? How do people feel broadly about AI? A benefit or a threat? What is the net results there? So who's for benefit, net positive? Quite a lot of hands, okay. Threat? We're all doomed. Very few skeptics, AI skeptics in the room. Okay, I mean, who knows? Who knows? Well, we'll find out. So what I want to do is talk a little bit about one of the more tangible opportunities with artificial intelligence for this industry and specifically for the online competitiveness of brand.com. So 2 quotes here from Gartner and Accenture that hopefully frame this for us a little bit better. You need AI for user experience, right? You need to be leveraging something that is going to allow your engagement, your brand online, to step up its user experience. Okay, so this brings us, of course, to personalization, and AI-enabled personalization is everywhere. It's very, very ubiquitous. Any of these brands, right? So my Amazon, of course, is different from your Amazon. My Amazon doesn't recommend a book I've already bought. Facebook, Netflix, all personalized and focused on the AI engines that drive better recommendations. So better and better recommender engines and bigger data inputs to drive more personalized results. ASOS, online retail, I mean, it's hard to find an example of a big successful brand that relies on digital that isn't all in with personalization versus kind of off the shelf. And the OTAs, I mean, my OTA, mybooking.com is different from anyone else's booking.com in the room because it's based on what it understands about me and where I want to go and where I'm at on my customer journey. So the OTAs have been big investors in this space as well. So, however, our hotel websites have sort of lacked that. If we look at the real moments that occur on hotel websites every minute, these are live people represented by real lines. Isn't it amazing? These are people visiting our hotel websites. These are all the moments I referenced earlier. And every page, every click they take on our website is a piece of information about them. That guy that was here yesterday on our site that clicked on family page is back today. He's in the family market and he's still in North America, and we could be doing something to personalize based around a more engaging user experience there. So this is the real customer journey and the real people and everything that those real engagements tell us about who they are. And really the call here is to move beyond the traditional approach to brand.com strategy, which is just a more beautiful brochure. And let's revise our brochure every 2 or 3 years and be more current with color schemes and brand logos. Really what we have to do is move to a point where we are emulating that personalized user experience, right? We still shout book direct at people who booked our hotel yesterday via our website. And not only do we do that by shouting book direct, we may well be telling them that the price today is actually cheaper than what they booked yesterday. And the OTAs and everybody else in travel has a field day, because our version as an industry of competing with OTAs is to just have a different version of a book direct strategy, and everybody gets that message. So I'd like to suggest one thing that you could think about here, which is understanding the people that have already booked your hotel and giving them a different conversation via your website, right? Delivering some form of online hospitality which says, hey, we know who you are, we can't wait to see you on Friday, and while we have you, you haven't yet booked the restaurant, you haven't yet booked the spa, we know you've got kids coming, there's amazing things to do. So we've not invented any of these concepts, of course. They've long been defined and proven by retail and every other sector, including OTA. But all the while, we take this guest, this pre-stay guest, and just deliver a different version of a Book Direct website, we're really going to feel the gap as the OTAs step up their game when competing with Google for the customer journey. My experience on Booking.com, I mean, Booking.com or Expedia, any one of them, treat me like a real VIP. My experience and your experience would be one of really good online hospitality using an OTA. So we've got to challenge the paradigm around, is a brochure and a plug-in booking process, is that really going to cut it? Is that really going to drive us forward? So, and finally, I want to revisit this one, this revisiting moment. So, any anti-Amazon people that are just principled, never purchasing anything on Amazon? Or are we just, have we given up now? It's just so good value. My Uber, I'm milking it while I still can, my Uber took me past Westfield, White City coming in, and there's a huge digital advertising display outside Westfield, and it was just Amazon ads outside Westfield. And I thought, wow, you know, they're coming, right? Outside Westfield, you know, coming up to Christmas. So we've presumably then we've all purchased through Amazon before, at least once. I mean, I do it once a day, sometimes more, sometimes at 2 o'clock in the morning when I can't sleep. Anybody pre-ordered a book through Amazon? Yeah, Peter? Quite a few people. So the final thought I'd like to leave you with, for any revenue people in the room maybe, is that I think hotels today and hotels in the future are in the pre-order business far more than they're in the online sales business. Okay? So if I purchase a book on Amazon and they charge me, they ship me the book, fine, everyone's happy. If I pre-order a book that comes out in 3 months' time, I don't get charged for 3 months. I can cancel for 3 months. And assuming I don't, then I receive the book in 3 months' time. That, to me, feels more and more like the business hotels are in. Right? Pre-order, no commitment, free cancellation. But the reason I bring you back here is because every intermediary that is part of that customer journey continues the dialogue online. Right? So they're all pulling, even those people who book, the buy button at the end of that particular chart is not the end of the story. There's potentially 3 months post that and pre-check-in where everybody is trying to pull me back from my trivial pre-order and get me to pre-order through them. And what often happens in revenue is that, let's say you're in the pre-order business, you know, the book that I've pre-ordered, the room reservation that I've made gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And everybody else tells me over that 3 month period that it's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And they're pulling me back, offering me VIP hospitality experiences in order to get me to change my mind, which is hassle-free, and switch my pre-order to a different channel. So that, I hope, is a final different way of thinking about the industry. I don't know if we have any time for questions, Peter?
Quick one, if you like.
Any quick questions? Yes, hi.
I have a question based on what you just said, and that is, if you book an airline, you get further out, you get cheaper, and it gets more expensive. That doesn't happen in hotels. You know, we have not got into the pattern of saying 3 months out, this is the best deal, and it gets more expensive as you get towards the end.
Yeah.
How can we change that? Because that is the way to fill the trough period.
Yep, absolutely. I think it's a very competitive industry, so everyone is via the competitive landscape, I think is a little different in hotels. But maybe one way to think about shifting this free cancellation rate strategy would be, you know, it's free to cancel up to 48 hours after you book, not 48 hours pre-check-in. You can still hit that consumer with a free cancellation message that is rivaling everybody else. But what you're saying is that, look, you have 2 days of the 3 months to change your mind here. And beyond 48 hours, maybe we will consider it to be locked in. I think that might allow changing in revenue strategy. But all the while, we're still quite fickle and trying to fill rooms with all cancelled bookings. May well be a race to the bottom for some time. Thank you. Thank you very much.